Today's video is going to be all about connecting the dots. This is a mono red card, 12 mana, 4 shields. When a creature you control attacks, exile the first card from your library. At the beginning of your turn, return the first creature card from your exile into play under your support. If you can't, return the first support card from exile into play under your control. This was a chase card for me when I was reviewing the set spoilers, and boy, has it lived up to my expectations and more. It's a really good card for just 12 mana, being able to put one thing for free into play every turn, so you can be very strategic about that and decide in what order you want these to come out from your exile into play. And so they are from your exile. That means you can just throw them out of your hand, just exile them from them, and they will come right back next turn, so you don't have to pay the cost of mana to put those cards into play. When you're playing this card, you definitely want a lot of permanence, a lot of creatures and supports in your deck to maximize this, because sometimes you might throw this card out and then end up with a bunch of spells, so it's not going to really do much. But we have a lot of ways to get cards into play with the deck that I'm about to show you here. Okay, so this deck is very fun. I built it for Kalemne. I find that red and white is a really good pairing for Connect the Dots, because you have a lot of things that deal with your exile, bring things out of it, put things into it. We got Aurelia's Vindicator, which is a really good card. At the beginning of your turn, if this card is in your hand, increases card's level by 1. I never disguise this card. I just play it as is. When this creature is revealed, exile the first X cards from your graveyard. When this creature attacks, return the first X cards from your exile to your hand. X is this card's level, then the last 2 cards in your hand gain full mana. So you have to have room in your hand to bring things back from your exile before getting the 2 cards in your hand full mana. So if you have a full hand, it won't work that way. Oh, I didn't mean to even hit that. So this is a card you can get the alt art for from Tibalt when it comes into the vault, whenever that will be. I don't know. But anyway, it's kind of a weak creature in terms of its overall power. It's only a 4/2, but it does have flying and lifelink, and you can build it up quite a bit, especially with Kylox's Volt Strider. Your creatures get +X/+X until end of turn. X is a support shield. So you can put this into your exile and have Connect the Dots bring it back for you. So that's going to be giving you free spells. So hit the Motherlode, Molten Collapse, Golden Wish. Those are our spells that we're going to be using in this deck. Chimil, the Inner Sun, is going to be getting us cards into our hand that we can either try and play with filling with mana, or we can exile and have Connecting the Dots or Aurelia's Vindicator bring it back. Leyline of the Guild Pact and Mana Crypt both are going to be helping us put cards into play. And yeah, I think that's overall the basic idea behind all the cards in this deck. So show you how it works. Okay, so I think the play here is to get Vindicator down and then have her bring back everything that I want to play. Let's see if we can get her down soon. Kalemne's First is great for giving her haste, and so she can right away when she hits the board bring 2 things back into my hand with full mana. See if we can get that Connecting the Dots in there. And that's really going to be the engine that's going to be getting things going here for me. So we can put the Volt Strider and her down into our exile. It's just going to come right back to our hand, full mana. Put the Vindicator down. Just kind of curious. If we cloak her, what happens? I mean, won't be necessary at the end of the day here. I'm about to win. But yeah, as you can see, it's a really fast deck when the pieces all come together. I would say just be careful about the order in which you put things into your exile. If you only have connect the dots down, if you want, it will prioritize creatures first. So if you're putting a bunch of supports down into your exile and then you put a creature in after all that, it'll still grab the creature first. So if you want the supports down first, keep the creature in your hand until you've cleared out your exile. But with Aurelia's Vindicator in there, you can do all three of the cards into your exile and you'll get three of them back with both her ability and then connect the dots on your next turn. So pretty awesome in that way. There's a different version of the same sort of style of deck, but I'm just showing it to you here because I just wanted to illustrate the point that connecting the dots is so good that it'll even make a bad Planeswalker playable. So I'm using Nahiri 3 and connecting the dots in here. So we're using a couple of different things. We're using Savior of Ollenbach, Aurelia's Vindicator, also in here, and connecting dots. And those three cards there are going to be just doing a lot of things for our exile. Savior of Ollenbach, when this creature dies or exiled from the battlefield, pick up to 4 of the first 4 non-spell cards of your exile and move those cards into play under their owner's control. So this is basically going to be giving us 4 cards from our exile for free. If he dies, then that's what's going to happen there. But then we also got Aurelia's Vindicator, and then a bunch of different things going on here. Eater of Virtue. When your first creature dies, exile it instead. So that means connecting dots will bring it back into play from our exile if it dies. So it's pretty interesting in that way. Kellen, Daring Traveler, is just a solid card. Can just put a lot of things into your exile, but it also creates map tokens if that's what we're going for, depending on how many artifacts we have into play. This is kind of an interesting card. Dire Flail, craft 1 artifact, exile this card and create a Dire Blunderbuss token. At the beginning of your turn, your first creature gets +6/+0 until the beginning of your next turn. When your first creature attacks, deals X damage to target creature. X is the power of your first creature. So just kind of an interesting equipment because this Nahiri deals with equipments a lot. And yeah, just everything else is kind of meant to help things move along here. Vanish into Eternity as our 1 removal spell. But it's a pretty okay deck. But I just really wanted to share with you how connecting the dots works in it. Cool, we got our Savior back, so we can do a lot of fun things with that now. Let's see what happens with this. Okay, not bad. Put some map tokens on the board. Get rid of that. You both go bye-bye. Grab a Savior. Why not? Wow, so is that reinforcement permanent? Oh, alright. Well, it only seems to work once, though. Huh. You would think that you'd be able to spam her third ability then. But, oh well. Well, she sucks anyway, but you could still do some things with her, but that's weird. I'll see if I can get that fixed because that would greatly improve her as a planeswalker. I will make sure to report that. But yeah, so I have one last deck for you to see here for this card, and it's very janky, and I hope you like it. Okay, this is a Tibalt deck, and it's got a lot of weird things going on with it. So we're actually building mostly around Hot Pursuit. This is a masterpiece, 13 mana, 5 shield enchantment, trap 8 Exile the last support or spell card from your opponent's hand, then deal X damage to the first opposing creature and to your opponent's planeswalker. X is the number of cards in all exiles, so that's really important. Beginning of combat of your turn, each opposing creature gains suspect until the beginning of your next turn. Doesn't really matter in this deck, but you can think about that if you want. Then your first creature gets +X +X. X is the number of creatures with suspect on the battlefield, times the number of simple tokens you control. So that's fairly relevant. I personally haven't found a lot of advantage to that part of the card, but it's really all about getting your opponent to hit that trap. So Jaleva is in here to pump up your opponent's exile, your exile by virtue of your opponent's as well. And then Riveteer's Charm will also be exiling your opponent's graveyard. Nicole Bolas Godpharaoh exiles creatures. And so, really, the main thing happening here is the interaction between Avaricious Dragon and Fateful Handoff. Whenever you draw a card, destroy 3 gems of the opponent's color. So, if you hand off the Avaricious Dragon with this card, what should happen is that every time your opponent draws a card, you have a chance of popping one of the trap gems that you set up with Hot Pursuit. Curse of Hospitality is really just there to make your opponent draw a card. This isn't a really great card, but it has a very niche use here. When a creature you control deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, your opponent draws a card, it gains 4 mana. At the end of your opponent's turn, exile the last card in your opponent's hand with mana equal to or less than 4. So really, it's just about giving your opponent an extra way to hopefully pop a trap gem. So I'll show you how this deck works, and you can see if you want to go about trying to build something like this. It's really just a fun little showcase for me. I don't expect to ever use this in any serious way. I just thought it was very fun and pretty entertaining to use. And yeah, these are the types of janky interactions that keep me interested in the game, even though, I'll never use this in a coalition event ever. But it is pretty fun to watch your opponent basically destroy themselves and you helping them along with that. Okay, let's see how much damage we did here with that. 59 damage. So every time he hit a trap gem, it would have done 59 damage to him. So you can see it's not a very reliable strategy. It's just kind of fun when it happens. So do with that combo what you will, but it's just kind of a goofy little side project for you if you want. So I'll just go through my collection here and share with you a couple of other decks that are using connecting the dots. Red and green obviously is a good one because you can just exile your giant creatures and put them into play for free. So you got Galta there and everything else. So it just makes that deck style even quicker. Let's show you some mono red here. Oh yeah, Quintorius Cand is a good one as well. This one is going all in with Exile. We got Soul Herder and Vindicator and Savior, all 3 of them together. Riveteer's Charm with Hot Pursuit and Cause Fire Resistance. So this is just doing a lot of direct damage. The creatures are just mainly there to get all the pieces together to damage your opponent through other means. This one here is a mono red for Koth 2. Just puts out a bunch of things easily. This one's mainly built on dealing damage through his abilities and Torch the Witness, creating a bunch of gold tokens. Imperial Hellkite, Rankle and Torbrand, Shattergang Brothers, those are all great cards to deal with threats that your opponent puts out there. But it's really connecting the dots that's helping us get everything on the board. And then finally, here's one with Angrath. If you don't have Tibalt, Angrath is probably a better Planeswalker anyway. But yeah, just similar sort of idea, but this one's a little bit more straightforward. It's not relying on your opponent as much. Hot Pursuit is still nice, but it's not a super crucial part of the strategy in this deck. It's really about just using connecting the dots to get all of our permanents into play easily. This is really the lesson you should take home when dealing with this card here. It just helps things move along a lot faster than hoping to spend the mana to put your cards into play. So, really crucial card in today's meta. Really helps out mono red, especially, and just any red deck can benefit from this card if you're not going all in with spells. So, really worth the chase. Make sure when this set moves into craftability that you save some orbs. Just one of the many rares that are worth crafting in this set. There'll be plenty more, so you'll get a lot of good stuff in your quest for chasing this card. So just wanted to make sure that you guys know how good this card is, and I'm very happy to have it, and I use it all the time. So if you're interested in seeing what other cards I thought would be chase worthy when I previewed this set, just watch the playlist at the end of this video. All right, see you next time.